Welcome back to our series of films celebrating the incredible biodiversity you can find around the railway in Britain. Network Rail manages over 11,000 miles of railway and carries millions of passengers and over 80 million tonnes of freight every year. We also maintain, manage and nurture around 50,000 hectares of land, which is home to a large and diverse range of flora and fauna. Today we've come to the Clinton Devon estate in Devon, where there are lots of grey ones of these.
And they've also got lots of these.
And in future we hope that where you find these, you might find these.
What otters?
Pine marten.
That's an otter, Chris, not a pine marten.
I couldn't find a pine marten.
Well, that's probably because they were actually thought to be extinct in England until we found evidence of one in London in 2015. We also know they live next to the railway in the New Forest and a couple of other places, but there's only thought to be 3,000 or 4,000 left in the country.
And with so few of them around, why is their survival so important?
Well, the pine marten, like the otter, is an apex predator, and it's thought actually that they may help to save another rare species, the red squirrel.
Now the red squirrel, you can't find a cuter symbol of the British countryside than him. But unfortunately, outside of Scotland, they're very, very rare. And one of the reasons they're rare is the grey squirrel, which is an invasive species from America. To find out more, I met Graham Taylor from the European Squirrel Initiative. What is it about the grey squirrel that did so much damage to the red squirrel population?
Several things, really. Firstly, the grey carries a virus. It's called the parapox virus, which it doesn't get affected by, but it spreads into the red populations, and the parapox virus can kill the red squirrel. So there's a kind of biological reason why they succeeded. But other reasons, their greys are prolific feeders, so they have a greater kind of food footprint on the area of a woodland or a forest. And they have also another biological advantage in so much as that they can digest acorns when they're not ripe. So they can start to feed earlier in the season and often will displace not just red squirrels but other small creatures in terms of food sourcing.
And what kind of damage can a grey squirrel, or I suppose a red squirrel, do to a wood?
Primarily, the damage that causes foresters grief is the kind of damage we can see here. So you can see that the bark here from about 6 foot up has been stripped completely, almost to the top, and it exposes the main woody, the xylem issues, and effectively the phloem, which is the sappy juices that keep the canopy alive. That phloem flow stops, and so the top leaves have died, leaving the bottom half of the tree still alive.
If there was a railway here, for instance, would that make the tree potentially fall on the railway?
Yes. You'll see a branch that has dropped out, and there'll be some squirrel damage there.
You were telling me earlier about Ireland and pine martens and how that might be a sign of what we can do in future.
In Ireland, we found that 20 years ago, west of the Shannon there were reds, east of the Shannon there were greys, and nobody understood why that was. And they identified through some research that when pine martens were restored to the landscape, the greys reduced in density.
So it's all about balance.
Yeah, nature is a balance, and if it goes out of kilter, then even for animals like deer and squirrels, things can go wrong.
Speaking of deer, what else are we doing to keep the railway safe from them?
So in Scotland, we've built these structures on the inside of the fence that when the deer get over and into the railway, they can then get out over the fence, but they can't get back in. And on Eastern Region, we're trialling some deer scarers. These are sonic scarers that stop the deer getting to the railway in the first place.
Well, to understand how we can manage our relationship with deer better, I spoke to John Wilding from the Clinton Devon estate. John, we all think of deer roaming free as a kind of wild creature, so it's strange to think that they need management, but they really do, don't they?
Absolutely. Yeah. We've removed their natural predators from the English landscape, and therefore we have a responsibility to take over that control and management of deer, because otherwise they don't self-regulate. They'll breed until the point that they're damaging their environment. So the ecology of woodlands and our native woodlands suffers, and ultimately the health of deer suffers.
So you talk about like being a predator has a kind of responsibility to it. What is that responsibility? What does an apex predator do?
Well, they maintain the population in a wild native system in balance. You take the predator out and the prey, the deer, increase to the point that they are doing damage to the ecosystem.
And I guess from a network rail perspective, we manage a lot of land, but in very thin slivers. Is the only way we're going to effectively manage deer as a country to take a wider view?
I think in the network rail situation, it would be entirely with working with adjoining landowners and the concept of deer management groups. There's many species of deer range and quite a large range, and individually it's nigh on impossible. I mean, we're very fortunate in having a significant area here and a species of native roe deer which is quite territorial, but in other parts of the country you'll only achieve your objectives if you do it in collaboration with other landowners.
And finally, what do they bring? Every animal brings something to an ecosystem. What does a deer bring?
Well, they're part of our native fauna. I mean, the roe deer in particular is a beautiful animal, and they are here in low numbers, and if you're quiet and out at the right time of the day, you'll see them, and they're very special, and they should be here, and we can have them in the right numbers and not be a problem at all.
Well, thank you for that, Neil. We need to give these guys a good home. Thank you. And we hope this film has shown how difficult it can be to manage all the different parts of our ecosystem and run a railway through the middle of it. And if you'd like to know more,
I need to talk to you about riparian ecosystem engineering.
what is that?
Beaver management.
Head to networkrail.co.uk/biodiversity.